In this video, we're going to start creating plots in R, which is a part of data visualization. We'll be using a package called ggplot to create these plots in R. ggplot has been contributed by a data scientist called Hedley Wickham. He works for R. It's a great way to present your data as it enables you to come up with fancy looking presentations. Let's get started. So one of the first things that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to attach the data using a function called attach. The reason I'm doing so is because you remember earlier when we had to convert a variable to a factor, every time we had to type the name of the data set and put a $ and then write approval. Now, R didn't know what that approval column is without knowing what the data reference is. What I'm going to do is, in order to avoid this typing effort every time that I write the name of the data and put a $ for each column, I'm going to tell R that I'm going to refer to this data. So I will just simply go ahead and attach the data. Now I can refer to the column names directly by their name instead of putting a retail and a $ before it. Like I said, we'll be using a package called ggplot2 to create these plots. In order to do so, I have to install the package. Now, since I already have that, I'm just giving you the command for you to be able to install the package properly. So I put a hash here, which means that R will not read it as a command anymore. I'm just putting it like a note. But if you're doing it for the first time, you will have to install this package. This might take a little while, a few seconds, but then you'll be ready to call it. And how do we call a package? We simply call it with the help of the library function, which will enable us to access different functions of the package. So I'm doing a library ggplot2, and you can see. Now, please notice the difference. ggplot2, when I was installing the package, I had to put it under the quotes, and here I do not have to put it under the quotes when I'm calling it. Also, installing the package is a one-time activity. Not that every time that you're running an R session, you have to install it. But every time that you need specific functions, such as the ones that we're going to need now, you will have to call the library. So package installation is a one-time activity. Calling the library is something that has to be done every time with each new session. So say if I would have exited this R session and I come back, I want to continue creating plots, I will have to call the library again. It's an important point. Now, ggplot. GG stands for grammar of graphic. What is grammar? Now, it has a set of rules, right? You can't just randomly frame a sentence. There has to be a set of rules in which you convey your message to someone else and you get a response, right? Same way, plotting is not a random activity. Plotting is also based on certain rules, and we'll be talking about those rules one by one as we progress through this. So let's start first of all by doing a univariate analysis. Univariate means it's one variable at a time. It's one variable at a time. Now, in univariate also, we have different categories. For numerics and integers, we will be using histograms and box plots. For the variables which are categorical, we will be using a bar plot. Now, this is in reference to the univariates, which means it's one variable at a time. Let's go back to the structure and quickly see what are the classes of different variables that we have in our data. So if you remember, we have age, which is an integer. We have balance, which is numeric. We have a score, which is integer, and that's about the numerics and integers. And there are 4 factor variables or categorical variables that we have, which are gender, occupation, age bucket, and approval. So we'll try different plotting options one by one now, starting with the histograms first. The way we will write this code is that we first have to use the ggplot function. And we have to tell ggplot function which data am I referring to. So what is the name of my data set? It's retail. Then I have to define the aesthetics or the X and Y axis of my data. If I'm doing a univariate analysis, I can just pass the X variable through it. In this case, let's say we choose to study the age. Now this is the outline. We've given the data input, we've told the axis. Now we will have to choose the plotting option. So if I'm looking for a histogram, I will have to type that. But remember, in a histogram, as you might have already seen it, you have certain number of bins, which is nothing but the width of the bars that you will see. Let's have a look and maybe that will be clear then. Let me just expand this window a little bit here onto the left so that you get a clear picture. In the plot options, came up with a plot like this. Now, each bar that you see here has a certain width. If I do not give this command inside histogram, it will by default use 30 bins. But I can always change it. And let's say I want to change it as bins is equal to 15. Now you can observe the change. Yeah, you can see the broader bars there because I reduced the number of bars. Maybe we want to make it look aesthetically a little better, right? So we can make some changes in the way our plot appears by adding colors. In order to do that, I'm adding another argument which says fill is equal to dark green. When I hit Control Enter, this is what happens. Let's say I want to make further changes to this and I want to modify this a little more. I can always write color is equal to, say, green. There are multiple coloring options. I'm just taking a few at random. Now you can see this changes. Another thing is, it's not that you have to retype the command. One is that you can always edit it in the script. The other option that you have in R all the time is that you can use the up arrow key to go back to what you've done last. And it gives you an option to edit it. So let's say if I would have changed this to blue, which would not look nice, I could have done this here very easily, right? So we always have an option to go back to the previous command. And as many times as we want to go back, we can do that by easily hitting an up arrow key. Up arrow will help us move backwards and down arrow here will make us move forward. So you don't have to put a lot of typing effort every time. If you want to do a minor edit, you can simply do it in console by hitting an up arrow and editing, or you can go to the script window in case you are working on a script. So this is a histogram. Now, if you see, this talks about a spread of age. Maybe I quickly want to refer back to the summary of this age variable in my data. I can always do that. I'm straight away going to console and typing age. Remember, I did not do $ age here because I've already attached the data. So if I do that, this will give me a summary of the age variable. It started from 21 and goes up to 55. Now, if you want to save this plot, let's say you want to use it for a presentation here, you have an option to save it as an image or save it as a PDF. You can always copy it and paste it into a presentation as well. There are many options. It's very easy to take a graph out of our environment and use it in any of your formal reports or presentation. Next, we'll be creating a box plot.